sociedad resiliente.
May I have your attention, please? So we are going to provide a simultaneous interpretation service during the forum. So if you need the service, please use the receiver, channel number 5 for Korean, 6 for English, and 7 for French. And online participant could also select your preferred language on platform. And for the smooth progress of the conference, please wear a mask during the forum, and please make sure that your phone is on silent mode. So we'll see you in a while. Thank you for your cooperation.
Hello, this is the technician from UNESCO. Please, could you give me the host for finish the configuration of English and French interpreters? Please. If not, it's not gonna work. Thank you.
Sarah Valencia, how are you? Good morning. All in the morning in Bogota. 4 o'clock. I cannot hear you because you are. Please, voice check.
Hi, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Hello, good afternoon and good evening for all of you. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. This is Sofia from UIL. Just to let you know, I will be helping you with the questions on the chat.
You are in mute now.
Moderator, Miss Sarah Valencia, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes, I do.
Oh, thank you.
Sarah,
Video quality, you
Yes.
mean?
I will be helping you with the questions, sending you individually on Zoom chat, okay? And whatever.
Yes, but your video quality is not good. So your video quality is not good. So would you please
Mine.
coordinate your video quality? Yeah, it's better. It's okay. So we can move. Can we start? Okay,
can
ladies
hear
and
you.
gentlemen and distinguished guests, a very warm welcome to the 5th International Conference on Learning Cities. My name is Minhwa Kim, and it's my great pleasure for me to be your MC today. As you know, we are still in the grip of COVID-19, but there is one thing that we have learned from this challenge. That is, no one can overcome this challenge alone. So we have to work together to fight and move forward. In this sense, the subject of today's session is more meaningful than any other times. The subject of this session is inclusive education in learning for health. And we are joined by 5 speakers for this session. And after all of the speeches, we are going to have a short Q&A session. So if you have any questions about the presentation, please leave them in chat room. So it's time to pass the mic to the Miss Sarah Valencia, the moderator of today's session. So Miss Sarah Valencia, mic is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning for all the people that is joining us. Also to our organizers, to the event, and all the panelists that are going to be with us sharing their experiences about different approaches for inclusive education in learning for health. Today in this panel, we're going to have 5 distinguished guests. First, we're going to have the presentation of Alexandra Cudelo Ruiz. She is the Secretary of Education in Medellin, Colombia. Then we're going to have the presentation of Mr. Carlo Nofri, representative of Fermo, Italy. Then we're going to have the presentation of Queen Jun, Chief of Lifelong Education Division in Chengdu Municipal from China. Following, we have Councillor Daniel Bottle, Mayor of Limerick in Ireland. And then to close our panel, we have Mr. Seok Jin Moon, Mayor of Chengdu in the Republic of Korea. So thank you for everybody. And we want to listen about all these inclusive education strategies for equitable long life learning, and also how different vulnerable populations were involved and can be involved in the design and implementation of different strategies to health-oriented learning activities. So welcome to all of you, and then we're going to give the word to Alexandra Agudelo Ruiz.
Soy Alexandra Cudelo Ruiz, soy la secretaria de Educación de Medellín, Colombia, una ciudad resiliente, una ciudad del aprendizaje, trabajando de la mano de la UNESCO en grandes transformaciones educativas para nuestra comunidad. Nosotros venimos trabajando en una gran apuesta para la ciudad en estos últimos años y es la transformación educativa y cultural. Pensamos que esa transformación educativa en tiempos de pandemia viene siendo fundamental y para la salud mucho más importante. Temas de resiliencia, temas cuando regresamos a la presencialidad, que ya hoy Medellín tiene el 100% de presencialidad en sus colegios, pero no ha sido fácil. Esos temas de alternancia, de los protocolos de bioseguridad en su momento, de seguir trabajando en ese sentido, ha sido fundamental para nosotros. Y toda la población educativa, toda esa comunidad educativa, los maestros, los estudiantes, en esa resiliencia, en esa capacidad de poder empezar de nuevo, poder trabajar en grandes actividades a través de programas, por ejemplo, como entorno escolar protector. Un buen vivir en la escuela para nosotros ha sido fundamental. La salud mental de todos ha sido también fundamental. Trabajar en eso, trabajar en formar y en educar para las emociones es un tema fundamental para Medellín. Definitivamente nuestra población es en gran medida población vulnerable. Estoy hablando de la población escolar de Medellín, más de 400.000 estudiantes. Y la pandemia para nosotros nos trajo unos grandes retos para ellos. Por ejemplo, en reducir esas brechas digitales, esas brechas de conexión, de conectividad para los estudiantes, ha sido fundamental. Empezamos la pandemia con casi el 60% o más del 60% de los estudiantes sin un equipo tecnológico, sin cómo conectarse, sin cómo tener comunicación. Hoy esa brecha ha bajado bastante, mucho, hasta tener casi solamente un 20%, que todavía sigue siendo mucho y que trae grandes retos, pero que venimos trabajando en eso. Estrategias con la empresa privada, haciendo una donatón tecnológica donde entregamos computadores a los estudiantes de Medellín, pero también hoy con una gran apuesta de entregarle un computador a cada estudiante de la ciudad, a cada uno de esos estudiantes que está matriculado en nuestro sistema educativo. Eso también es cerrar brechas, eso también traerá formar dentro de las instituciones de los estudiantes. Un gran reto y creo que lo hemos ido cumpliendo en conjunto con toda la sociedad, en conjunto con los rectores, con esos jefes de núcleo, con los maestros, pero también con la comunidad, con los empresarios, con fundaciones que se han unido a todo este gran proyecto de ciudad. Para Medellín es muy importante ese concepto que nos dice la UNESCO y que venimos trabajando en un aprendizaje para toda la vida. Un aprendizaje en el que quepan muchas estrategias, no solamente las escolarizadas. Y ahí toda la población y toda la comunidad trabajando en ello. Hace un momento lo hablaba referente a todos esos espacios que tiene la ciudad de aprendizaje, de una ciudad, una Medellín, una ciudad que aprende, una ciudad en todos los espacios que contribuye a aprender, en la cual cada uno de nosotros nos transformamos desde la cultura, desde la educación, desde la no violencia, desde la inclusión, con grandes estrategias que se pueden ir realizando y que efectivamente venimos realizando. Así que también lo no formal hace parte de esa educación en Medellín y de esa educación, o más bien de una ciudad que aprende y de una ciudad que aprende para toda la vida. Y bueno, para mí como secretaria de Educación de una ciudad del aprendizaje como Medellín, que fuimos sede de la 4ª conferencia de ciudades del aprendizaje, hoy participar en la 5ª conferencia internacional de ciudades del aprendizaje es muy importante. Hoy desde una pantalla y que ojalá podamos vernos muy prontamente y que todo esto de la pandemia y del COVID-19 termine y que termine para la educación. Además, para que nos juntemos para hablar de esos grandes retos que nos va a dejar esta pandemia en tiempos del COVID-19 para las escuelas, para todos los estudiantes del mundo. Porque si hoy algo nos convoca es que realmente estamos viviendo de la misma manera la formación y la educación.
Thank you, Dr. Alexandra, for your words and experience of Medellin. Now we're going to continue with the presentation of Mr. Carlo Nofri, representative of Fermo, Italy.
Thank you, Sarah. First of all, I would like to bring the greetings to the conference of the mayor of the city of Fermo, Paolo Calcinaro, and I want to thank the city of Yensul and the UNESCO for this opportunity to address a speech to such a big audience about our experience. I have prepared some slides and I would like to start with the first one that you can see, equity, inclusion, and education. These are three basic concepts, but what we do need, this is our general opinion, is a sort of a cultural revolution involving the three of them. Next dia, please. What lesson we have learned from the pandemic? I will start from here. First of all, we cannot expect to assure quality in education by simply resorting to remote teaching. This is the first lesson. Remote education is a new opportunity, in some cases irreplaceable, yet it is not the faithful replication of the school experience in presence. School remains the place where people grow both culturally and socially. And this is true not only for young people, but also for all learners. Moreover, inadequate availability of proper technology and broadband connections have proven to be an additional factor of social exclusion, particularly for disadvantaged and disabled people. Therefore, blended formats seem to be the best proposals for the future development of education, together with more investments to provide all learners with these equipments. But also, the way of approaching this process is important. Top-down and bottom-up responses. After having hoped that the pandemic could be defeated in a short time and that we could all return to the life we had before, today we know that we have to live with the virus for an indefinite period of time and find new forms for working, learning, and socializing. The global adherence of peoples to new lifestyles and individual behaviors cannot be based only on a top-down approach adopted by governments and health authorities. And bottom-up action is also needed, starting from local communities and involving all population. This is a concept that was underlined a couple of minutes before by the representative of Medellin, and we agree on that. The call for a cultural revolution. Everyone must be aware of the impact of individual behaviors on the health and the well-being of those who live with us or near us, in our building, in our neighborhood, in our cities. Next dia, please. So, education is the main tool for this cultural revolution. Adequate information, active involvement of citizens of all ages, community intergenerational projects are the key factors to ignite and boost a cultural revolution able to change individual behaviors of over 7 billion of people. And I'm sorry, but I cannot see any more the dia. Where is my dia? Of over 7 billion people and meet the challenges of the new millennium, starting from the pandemic. This is what our city is trying to do by involving all the bodies operating in the formal, not formal, and the informal educational fields. And this is also what the Italian cities belonging to the global network of learning cities are trying to do through local and transversal alliances for education. This is a common goal in progress, sustained by our National Coordination Board of Learning Cities, including Turin, Fermo, Palermo, Lucca, and Trieste. And I'm here also to represent them since I'm the spokesman of the coordinating committee. Next, dear, please. Nobody can be left behind. This is the general message. It is clear to everyone that the pandemic has exacerbated the difficulties of the most vulnerable categories: physically and mentally disabled, migrants, elderly, unemployed, needs, and so on. Among the actions that our city is carrying out to support these categories, it is worth mentioning a pilot project that is taking its first steps and is aimed at a particular category of disabled. The project is called Fermo, First Italian Deaf-Friendly City, a community project where citizens, associations, schools, public and private institutions collaborate in the common goal of breaking down communication barriers for residents and visitors. And of course, we are willing to exchange best practices and experiences with other cities of the global network. I mean, first of all, the cluster Equity and Inclusion working on similar projects. Next, dear, please. But the issues under discussion at this conference remind us that education today has as its primary purpose that of raising awareness, first of all among young people, of the global objectives that mankind has had to save the planet and make of it a healthy and comfortable place for everyone in the Anthropocene era. This means, first of all, knowing the goals for sustainable development set in the UN Agenda 2030. The key documents of UNESCO on this topic and the results of the research work of international scientific and academic institutions on these issues. That is why our Learning City will bring to the attention of the Italian school authorities a proposal: make of education for sustainable development a compulsory subject in every school. And today we say, here in this conference, what about launching this proposal in each country? I want to leave you with a quotation. Next, dear, please. It's a quotation coming from a famous Italian writer, Pier Paolo Pasolini. I believe in progress. I don't believe in development, and in this kind of development. And it is this development, if anything, that gives my joyful nature a tremendously sad, almost tragic twist. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Carlo Nofri, for your experience and all the insightful points that you have made about this process of learning for inclusion, also in Italy, not just in Fermo. So right now we're going to our next speaker, that's Ms. Qin Jun, Chief of Lifelong Education Division in Chengdu, China. Thank you.
尊敬的主持人、女士们、先生们，大家好。我是秦俊，成都市教育局终身教育处处长，非常荣幸受邀参加本次会议。 我将就成都市作为学习型城市在后疫情时期的健康教育举措进行分享。成都是中国建设中的公园城市示范区。2020年，成都市 GDP 达到1.77万亿元人民币。目前，市域内常住人口已超过2000万。这座拥有2000多年文明史的古老而年轻的城市，之所以能够在历史上涵养大量人口并长期繁盛，得益于这座城市对文教医疗的一贯重视。早在公元前141年，成都的文翁实事便开启了中国地方官办学校之先河。北宋年间，成都医生唐胜威所著《内政本草》成为当世医学教育经典，并成为后世熟知中医医学巨著《本草纲目》的编写蓝本。近年来，成都开展终身教育成效显著。2019年，荣获了联合国教科文组织学习型城市奖。当前，成都正深化学习型城市建设，各领域终身教育实践活动在城市卫生健康事业融合发展中呈现出勃勃生机，主要表现在以下4个方面：一是强化阵地建设，整合健康资源。成都依托全国健康细胞建设工程，针对企业、村庄、家庭等场所进行分类的医疗卫生场景打造。在乡村，建设健康步道或游园，免费向村民开放，强调终身教育资源的开放供给，要求各个专业医疗机构每年要组织不少于6次的科普讲座。目前，成都共建成符合终身教育、融合医疗健康教育发展标准的街镇有108个，社区村312个，单位645个，家庭5194个。二是依托各类机构宣传健康知识。成都市政府的各个部门、各专业机构和协会通过各类社区信息平台，持续的向市民普及重大疾病防治知识，结合新冠肺炎疫情防控工作，向市民普及了医疗健康的基本知识和心理健康常识，印发市民爱国卫生要求、现代乡村卫生行为准则等资料，还举办了保护青少年远离传统烟草和电子烟，还有迎新村清洁家园等等专题讲座。2018年至2020年间，成都市累计举办了健康教育讲座3.6万余次，咨询5.3万余次，累计540万人次参加相关的线下学习。三是发动市民实施健康行动。2020年， 成都全市依托社区机构实施并完成了包括控油壶、限盐品和健康教育卡片的这样一种健康生活工具包的派发活动，共计发放了474万余份。3年来，成都以共建健康城市相关内容为主题，连续开展全民健康知识竞赛活动，吸引全市市民参与知识竞答，在线答题市民参与人数日高峰达到了35万。最后是服务弱势群体，助力社会治理。在中小学校，我们面向学生开设了卫生健康教育课程，卫生部门对老年人开展了保健常识以及防骗指南等专题讲座。助残服务机构对残疾人和他的家属开展了康复医疗培训。乡村的社区学校通过创作顺口溜、播放爸爸电影等形式，向村民开展了防疫宣传。在新冠肺炎疫情爆发后，成都市终身教育机构的专兼职教师和我们的居民学习社团学员纷纷奔赴抗疫一线，参与了大量的志愿服务活动。正是由于有终身学习和医疗健康事业的持续链接，成都才得以用更快的速度整合全社会的力量，控制疫情，成为中国拥有1000万人口的特大城市中感染率最低的城市之一。以上就是我代表成都市做的分享，谢谢大家。
Thank you for those words on the insights that you have shared with us, all the infrastructures and different activities that have been taking place in the city of Chengdu. Now we're going to give the floor to the Councillor Daniel Butler, Mayor of Limerick.
Elected representatives, members of the UNESCO Global Network of Learning and Cities, and the conference delegates joining the session both in person and indeed online. As Mayor of the City and County of Limerick, I'm delighted to be able to speak to you today about learning Limerick, and more specifically, I suppose, about the approaches of inclusive education in learning for health. I suppose as part of this slide, by way of introduction, Limerick is located on the banks of the Shannon estuary on the west coast of Ireland, and its principal urban centre in the Midwest region, and is a driver for development and activity in the Midwest region. Limerick City and County has a population of almost 200,000, and Limerick City County Council is the local authority for that region. We are the third largest English-speaking city in the EU, something we're hugely proud of, and Limerick is indeed a very active member of both the UNESCO Global Network and the Irish Network of Learning Cities. The Limerick, the Learning Limerick Steering Group is a partnership forum, and that brings together sectoral networks and partnerships, and is committed to creating a culture of learning in Limerick. This is very ably led by the Limerick and Clare Education and Training Board, Limerick City and County Council, and local development company Paul Partnership. It is made up of statutory, local development, business and community and voluntary sector partners that have a role in learning in Limerick. The original Limerick City of Learning Steering Group was established as a subcommittee of the Limerick City Development Board in 2002, And the expansion of its membership in 2013 to include both the city and county partners resulted in the name of the group being rebranded to Learning Limerick. This followed the amalgamation of Limerick City and County Councils that year. The Learning Limerick Strategic Plan positions learning at the centre of development planning in the Limerick region in all communities, sectors and settings. But the group has held an annual Limerick Lifelong Learning Festival, which has been a vibrant one since 2011. The festival promotes learning in all its forms, in all aspects of life, and works with our local communities to include both formal and non-formal learning, including performances, taster sessions, tours, displays, lectures, walks, demonstrations, and workshops. So there's a real great variety in how people can engage in a learning experience. The group continued to offer the festival in a virtual form in 2020, and they're to be commended in that regard. And 2021, despite the challenges faced by the restrictions, the programme included over 100 events. The festival's theme this year was New Futures, New Adventures in Learning. We are celebrating the resilience of our local communities, something exemplified over the last 16 to 18 months. The Learning Ambassadors project commenced in 2019. The ambassadors are Limerick people from all walks of life, united by a common interest in promoting, developing, and celebrating learning in all its forms. They are welcoming, friendly, and proud that Limerick is a UNESCO learning region. They are willing to share their experiences of formal and informal learning and happy to help others find opportunities for learning, of which there are many in Limerick. The ambassadors took part in a series of video interviews on their stories and why they are passionate about becoming a learning ambassador. They've also participated in interview and discussions for international webinar events as well, which is a unique and very great learning experience in of itself. Learning Limerick supports the work of the Limerick Community Education Network, LCEN, a network that works collectively in the provision of community education and represents 15 organisations and 3,000 adults in Limerick City. In April of 2019, the Learning Limerick Steering Group worked with the LCEN to launch the Limerick Learning Neighbourhoods, and this initiative takes the Learning City concept to the neighbourhood level and includes everyone from the neighbourhood, business, groups, local people, as all kinds of learning takes place in all neighbourhoods. Limerick City and County Council also leads on the Healthy Limerick project, something I was part of the initial steering group of proudly. And this project is funded by Healthy Ireland and is informed by the WHO definition of a healthy city, which is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Importantly, this project is locally driven and works with all stakeholders, including community partners, to ensure it is meeting local needs. As part of Healthy Limerick, current initiatives this year include the Social Health Education Project, a successful project established in Limerick City, has been expanded to County Limerick, and this includes community education for health and wellbeing programme, the Limerick Food Partnership, which is a strategic collaboration to work on awareness raising, improving access and increasing the supply of health food options to its target communities in Limerick City and County. The contactless drinking fountains have been installed in several locations in Limerick City and County, promoting the use of reusable bottles and providing free drinking water. And small grants were approved for 15 small community groups. And the Magic Tables for Libraries is a fun innovation designed for use by people with dementia, autism, and learning disabilities. The aim of the Magic Table is to create moments of joy for the users, as well as increasing physical and cognitive activity. Design and build of a native Wi-Fi biodiversity area in Bagastay on the south of the city was another initiative, and Not Around Us is about promoting an environment where it is easier for those who smoke to quit and to help denormalise smoking for the next generation. Not Around Us is another step towards a tobacco-free Limerick and awarded a gold medal by the World Health Organization as part of the World No Tobacco Day Awards in 2020. And like health and education, both of them are all our responsibilities. Some of the Healthy Limerick support during COVID-19 we had the COVID-19 Community Response Forum hosted by Limerick City and County Council to ensure that vulnerable members of the community or those living alone could access vital deliveries and social care supports. The Keep Well campaign is aimed at showing people how we can mind our physical and mental health and well-being by adding healthy and helpful habits to our routines. Community, social, health and family support services available to help meet your and your family's needs as well were provided. Resources for migrant health in response to COVID-19 partner packs and up-to-date resources. The Let's Play Ireland is a whole of government campaign led to promote the importance of play and to provide play resources for families. There are resources available on the Let's Play Ireland website. All amazing initiatives. So in conclusion, our Learning Limerick and Healthy Limerick initiatives outlined have helped build up on an awareness of the value and the many benefits of learning. The initiatives have a focus on working with communities to develop and support non-formal learning opportunities that foster health and well-being. These grassroots projects, which are so important that they are grassroots, involve our local communities in design and ensure that the projects meet the needs of the target communities, particularly and including vulnerable groups. I suppose all I have left to say is thank you for your attention, and it is a pleasure to be with you here today. Please contact us via the details on screen if you would like to know more about Learning Limerick and the work that we do across the city and county. We'd be delighted to be of assistance. And all I have to say now is Gur Míle Maithagh agus Guneri an Táilib Gulia. Gur Míle Maithagh.
Thank you, Mayor, for your words and your experience about Learning Limerick, about Healthy Limerick as well, and all the initiatives that we want to follow up in the conversation panel. So finally, we're going to introduce the Mayor of, sorry for my spelling, Seodam Moon, Mr. Seok Jin Moon. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. All in the morning. Pota. Others, the good afternoon. This is 서대문구 Mayor Seok Moon. What we would like to present today is to give an example of our city policy related to lifelong learning and health for social vulnerable groups. This is raised the 5-piece model in SDGs. People is the social dimension, planet is the environmental dimension, prosperity is the economic dimension. Two are the important elements of the conception of sustainability underpinning the agenda peace and partnership. Peace constitutes the fourth dimension of sustainable development. The ethical dimension concerns ideals and values such as equality, freedom, human dignity, and justice. Partnership describes the collective and collaborative approach required to implement the goals and achieve the universal engagement that is essential for the success of the agenda's ultimate aim is to transform the world. Education is contributing to the 17 SDGs. Education contributes to goals such as literacy education, mother's basic education, disease education, civic education, technical education, and environmental education for poverty reduction, health promotion, gender equality, and the environment. Next slide. This is about what can be done for green and healthy learning city. Learning cities promote education for sustainability development as a way to raise awareness of climate change, pollution, threats to the mental and physical health, and the need to protect the environment. Learning cities help citizens equip themselves with the knowledge and skills to effectively manage water and waste in the public and private sectors, improve sanitation standards, and reduce air pollution by using public transport and bicycling. Learning cities promote healthy work environments and expand recreational opportunities, including sports facilities and community gardens, to promote the happiness and well-being of all citizens. In addition, we actively provide educational activities related to nutrition and health. Next. This is tasks related to the health of the learning city. First, promotion of information campaigns to encourage disease prevention, education, and health checkups. Second, provision of the health management service for the underprivileged and health-related educational materials. Third, host health and wellness sports events. Fourth, provision of health-related learning materials and counseling services in consideration of children, disabilities, and gender. Fifth, health promotion campaign, health-related information service. Next, Sademugu has a community welfare plan every 4 years. We have plans for the vulnerable groups in the region, such as issues related to the elderly, children, and disabled, youth housing issues, and the migrant women. Next. Sademugu has been a health-related lifelong learning program with universities since 2009. Programs are health peace sommelier, elderly healthcare activities, brain health trainer, first aid, children's psychological guide, violence prevention counseling, silver health manager, alternative health care, and Happy Smile Healthcare. Next, please. I would like to introduce you to health-related lifelong learning in learning communities. Urban Small Learning Communities, Terogolmo, is a program where instructors reach vulnerable groups. We support the following programs: healing health, gymnastics, and recreation, dementia prevention, silver cognitive play guide. Ha-ha-ho, how is sound of laughter, gymnastics class. Healing yoga to find youth, 100 years old stage, health, gymnastics. Next page, yeah. I introduced about communities lifelong learning combined with the elderly welfare system. We introduced the combination of the welfare system and the learning system. This is Hongjae Community Center's portal. The second floor is the Community Learning Center. And the first floor is the Senior Citizen Hall. According to the characteristics of the space, learning for all ages is being activated. Next page. This is lifelong learning combined with the healthcare system. Ha-ha-ho Community Center combines a medical system and the learning space. Programs include laughter, health and vitality promotion, flower making, walking and quality, blogging, smartphone education, house interior. Next page. In Korea, AI care is for the elderly. There are 9 universities in our southern city, and there are many large research institutes in the fields of the artificial intelligence and health. Grandma, it's time for some pills. Friend both say. When the doll presses on its ear, it knows the gymnastics program, and when it touches its back, it says hello. Next is our Ansan Mountain. Urban systems affect health, I think. Let's watch the video of Ansan Mountain in Sodemon City. Please show the video. No. Okay. This you can see the Ansan Mountain, and the Ansan is we established barrier-free trail in our mountain, and disabled persons can walk in a wheelchair, and it's our Ansan Mountain wooden trail, and if one starts starting point, and then he walked through around our Ansan, and then it can reach the starting point. It means circulation wooden trail. I'm sorry, you cannot see our video. Then next page. Urban systems have the direct impact on the health of citizens. This data is the health statistics data of Seoul City. This is a data analysis of rankings among 25 cities in Seoul. Metropolitan Seoul compounds is 25 small cities like the Sodemon City. And the comparative statistics before and after the creation of the working system in Ansan Mountain, the obesity rate fell from the 11th to 19th. The stress perception rate fell from the 13th to 25th. And the depression experience rate fell from the 7th to 23rd. The working practice rate went from the 25th to 4th. It means health concern, the Ansan wooden trail is very good to the citizens. So many people walk and utilize this wooden trail, and they can walk 2 hours for circulating the mountains. And many people like to walk. So you can see the data. The data means many things, the good effectiveness. So our Sodemon City is very happy because of these health conditions. So I think next page, all means all is a value that city policy makes the most remember, I think. I mean, which policy is happy to the people. I think if we made the good health circumstances, then our citizens can enjoy the health program and much more healthier than before. And many cases, especially under the COVID-19, our citizens can obtain the information from our city hall and they can divide opinions. So they can get the right information, not fake news. So it's the great impact to make the health society. So from next month, our COVID-19 situation will be more better, and we release the meetings each other. Of course, there are some conditions. If they vaccinate, then release the number of the meetings. Anyhow, after the booster shot, the condition will be better, I think. Anyhow, I am stressed again. All is all. Thanks for listening to the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for your words and the explanation of the programs, but also the framework that you have shared with us about these 5 Ps and the examples that you have settled, specifically to think about the people, the planet, the prosperity, peace, and different partnerships that are part of what we aim in this conference. So before to proceed with the following part of our session, I want to wrap up the 5 interventions that we have been hearing, that each one has been tackled specific and very important points. First of all, everyone has been talking about different populations that we have, and the populations that different strategies have been tackled is migration, migrants, poor people, physical people with disabilities, elder people, children, adults with dementia also, and people and mothers also that are really part in this learning process. Also, we have been discussing and we have been hearing about our panelists about the different topics that have been addressed for education, like the importance of mental health, to talk about inclusion, about good communication, to include different communities, as example that we hear about Italy, the promotion and prevention strategies that have been in place also to decrease risk of death, also to promote physical activities, to decrease the smoke, alcohol intake, and also one part is quite important is for children and how people can identify and recognize risky behaviors. And that is part of learning, when you know what to recognize and how to take part of an active choice, and also search for help, how to promote physical activity. We have been also listening about the importance of different infrastructures, not just the physical places for people to take an encounter and to learn, but also the world and the planet and the environment, and how we should take care of that space. Also the schools, and how the schools cannot be replaced by virtual atmospheres as the one that we have been living through the pandemic. Schools are points of places to get together and learn in a way between generations. Also, the villages are quite important in the construction of infrastructure, as hospitals, as community centers, and these centers are quite important for learning and knowledge exchange. So these infrastructures are also quite important to promote and enhance these learning experiences for all the population and also for vulnerable population. We also need different enablers that help us to connect the points and the dots. First of all, we were discussing about policies, and we have here politicians and people that are talking and thinking about these policies to implement and take place and to operationalize those ones through different programs. And we really listen great examples of programs that took place in different countries to promote lifelong learning in these different vulnerable populations. Also, communities are central. They are the key learners for this process, and also technology. We hear in our first panelists about the technological gap and how it was crucial to close that gap for reach and to educate people through the pandemic, because access to technology is quite important, and also to close different gaps and to promote and implement the programs alliance with public and private sectors. This is not just a public topic to discuss. The private sectors can be involved, can be an active actor in these activities. And also the role of individuals. We listen a lot about the agency of the individuals in society, how the attitudes and behavior impact others, but also they are active recipients of learning and knowledge to transform the communities. They are quite crucial. Teachers, farmers, are part of our communities, and they play an important role. So this is part of what we were discussing. Basically, what we are looking with this framework of infrastructure, different enablers, identify key topics to address, and tackling the population we want. And I think that we all agree that the change is to create lifelong learning programs in our cities, create a culture of learning across all ages, and in being inclusive with all the populations that we have, to empower people also to be part of the community, to take action, and to keep growing in an inclusive space, which means that we are creating safety space that are inclusive for all, and finally, to meet the sustainable goals that is part of our commitment, also being part of the UNESCO network. So this is to wrap up all these 5 interesting presentations and experiences that we have. So we want to listen to the questions that all our participants and people that is listening to us have. But first of all, before starting to receive those questions, I want to pop up one to our panelists that is, in this framework, how in your cases can vulnerable and excluded groups be empowered and be integrated in health-oriented learning activities? So if someone wants to raise your hand, feel free to answer the question, or we can start with Mayor of Limerick.
Thanks, Sarah, and I'm delighted to be greeting you on a fine morning here in Ireland, in Limerick, and greetings to you in Colombia. I know our Learning Cities team visited you a couple of years ago in Bogota and Medellin, so greetings from them. Look, this morning's proceedings has been really amazing, and it's been great to see how people have prioritized vulnerable groups, something that's a huge priority for us here, and it's really done across the various countries that I can see, and here in Limerick, through supporting and working in partnership with local groups, ensuring that the learner voice is central to what we design and how we engage with those groups through our learning strategies. We have used and empowered the voice through our Learning Limerick Ambassadors projects, which ensures that their voices are heard in relation to their own education developments. So the ambassadors are from all walks of life in Limerick. So I suppose they reflect the community from which they come from, and those listening in will be able to connect with them and relate, and hopefully be inspired by their journeys, and hopefully then engage in learning. The local the Limerick Community Education Network, is just that. It's a network of people across our city, and it's a ground-up approach, using the various stakeholders in the communities that have that network to be able to leverage. So it's that ground-up approach, Sarah, I guess, and it's that partnership approach, and that's the empowerment of key voices, so that we're not just offering learning, but we're also promoting leadership within our communities for learning.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, Mr. Moon.
I wanted to comment about the technical gap. How do we overcome the technical gap under the COVID-19 situations? Before the summer, I think we provide the digital device to all students. And in that case, we need the budget. So I suggested to give the all digital devices to our students, especially who is belongs to the vulnerable groups. And every school, I established the Wi-Fi system totally, and they can communicate easily. And even though the online system, every student get the digital device, and they can touch with the teaching from the teachers through the Wi-Fi circumstances. So it's a very important, I think. It's to overcome the digital divide, we need a budget for that. And I persuaded the other mayors in our Seoul metropolitan cities, and we compromised our opinion, and with the collaboration with the mayors, we can provide digital device to every student and Wi-Fi system to our schools. For the development of the technology, we did more educational part support by budget, I think. So if possible, let's have the mind to give more budget to the education part, I think. And to overcome this problem of our digital divide and technical gap, I think we have to mind to give our materials to the education. That's my opinions and my experiences. So in our city, anyhow, the digital divide is not so big. We can reduce the gap. Thank you.
Talking about inclusion, I want to ask a question to Ms. Carlo Nofri, because you share one experience about a program for deaf people, and it is challenging. And I want to understand if you can tell us about the experiences and the barriers that you foresee, and how you overcome these barriers, and how you include and make this process really participatory and engaged with different communities.
Okay, this is a typical community project. The success of this project is strictly related to the capacity of involving all the community, since all the city should become welcoming, not only with people, deaf people resident, but also with the people coming from outside, then visitors, tourists, and so on. And this is the practical also demonstration that to invest on inclusion has also economic advantages, because a city more welcoming for deaf visitors means a city able to attract even more tourists. So there is also a good impact on the local economy. That is something really unpredictable, but it's a real effect. But I would like to add a consideration on the previous question. How you asked, it is possible to increase inclusive education in practical terms, if I intended well your question. Well, we think in Fermo that a key role should be played by non-formal education. Recently, we have opened an open university for adults because we believe that we have to multiply the opportunities of learning beyond the formal borders of the school system. Because in that more informal atmosphere, it's easier to involve different generations, I want just to make an example. The digital divide, how to fill the technological gap when we talk about elderly. The best thing to do is to activate cooperative learning. That's to say, cooperation in terms of learning and teaching between old and new generations. Since we know that the new generations are terribly expert of technologies. So we have to activate also different energies. So we have to think about learning beyond, I repeat, the walls of the schools. This is our recipe. I don't believe it works everywhere, but it is resulted in a good solution, in a good practical solution involving all the community and also empowering citizens and activating that bottom-up approach as well. I was insisting in my intervention on that. Not only top-down strategies, but also bottom-up approaches, because in this way we can unchain unpredictable energies which we can find in our communities.
Thank you, Mr. Carlo. So this is leading us to a follow-up question about that. So we were talking about programs, policies, and you are a key defender about bottom-up approaches. So I want to ask also to the two mayors that we have, how from your position you support bottom-up initiatives led by the community? So how you can recommend and what advice can you give to other mayors and other cities to promote these bottom-up activities that are taking place actively in our communities? So I don't know who wants to start. Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, sure, I'll go, Sarah. Thanks very much. Yeah, look, I suppose in Limerick we have a festival, the Lifelong Learning Festival, and that promotes, I suppose, learning in all its forms, and it takes many forms, and we've spoke about that already. You know, both the formal and non-formal learning. Sometimes non-formal learning can be more important because, especially for vulnerable communities, it provides an access way into more formal education. More formal education can be quite intimidating and quite demanding for somebody. So having that non-formal learning opportunity can be a great gateway. So it's about broadening that offering, and with particular emphasis on community learning and opportunities for those vulnerable groups to get the support that they need to participate. And through the learning festival, it creates a kind of a fun and accessible way of engaging in learning in a new and creative way. And so the festival itself includes events from all its partners, and that's communities, well, schools and partners at all levels of formal education system. And the events are targeted towards individuals, communities, as well as families throughout, because we know that, you know, in terms of education, and you know this yourself in relation to education and health, is that, you know, if we can get access to families and we can educate all the families, the outcomes are far greater. And certainly that's the same, we experience the same case here in Limerick in terms of learning outcomes. If we can get a whole family approach, then we get greater outcomes for both the individual and the collective. And I suppose for Learning Limerick does this through having all sectors represented in the steering group and having an organising committee for the festival as well that relates to all those projects. So it's having a really broad umbrella of representatives to ensure that we have a connection to all our communities and to ensure that we do that in a very creative and accessible way, and a way that doesn't create more structures that can become barriers to engagement. So I think we've done that quite successfully here in Limerick, and it sounds like many others have succeeded in that regard in terms of the panel members. Thank you, Sarah.
Mayor Moon, do you have something that to contribute? We cannot hear you. Right.
Yeah. from the bottom-up method, I suggest another way. I mentioned about the wooden trail in our mountain. It's very famous to our students. The wooden trail made only the flat, so no barrier to walk. So each of the person can utilize this wooden trail because there is no stairs and the total length is 7 kilometers. And a normal person can walk 2 hours from starting point and circling. After then, he reached the starting point. Then we don't need to education. Walking is very helpful for your health. But we made the good environment to walk, easily walk. Then every person easily take walking every day. In our statistics, our rate is very better than before. And I think this is the one way, not to say, please walk, but do not like that. We made a good wooden trail. After that, everyone can walk, enjoy the walking. Then our health standard is up. And I wanted to make the pedestrian streets in our cities, especially Yonsei University and the Shincheon subway station. There is 500 meters, and every weekend it's just pedestrian streets. Then many persons can walk at their place, and many performance also held at their place. So it's the one way. It's a one how we can develop more good way is the making the environment by city, I think. So we can divide the many opinions between learning cities, then it will be very helpful to make the good policy to every learning cities. So through this session, I also get the good ideas from you. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor. So now we are finishing our panel. So basically from this last part, we have pointed out the importance of these encounter places created and the markets and the promotion of formal knowledge exchange to create also in those places bottom-up initiatives that can be fostered by the environment, but also can be fostered by public initiatives that promote what the communities have there to promote and to provide to the different environments of families and also places where they are. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for our panelists for the time, for all the shared knowledge that you have given us this afternoon, this evening, and this morning. And also thank you to UNESCO for organizing this event. We hope to see you in the next panels and at the end of the event. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Yanzu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator, and all the speakers for your presentation today. Thank you. Well, and my special thanks also go to all the participations who have joined us until this late time. And it's time to wrap up all the sessions we have prepared for you. So once again, thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. It was really nice to meet you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Still it's all in the morning. And bye.
We'll see if I have enough before going to work.
Yeah.
Bye.